morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Energy and Water Educational Series Common Area Lighting webinar. My name is Lorena, and I'll be hosting your webinar today. Portland General Electric has teamed up with the Metro Multifamily Housing Association, which their new name is Multifamily Northwest, Energy Trust of Oregon, and the Regional Water Providers Consortium to offer multifamily property managers and owners our 7 series of seminars and webinars in the month of March that have proven strategies for saving energy and water. It also has information on cash incentives and available resources through all these organizations. Today's session is the first of the series. We welcome you to attend all of them to learn how to reduce operating costs, improve tenant comfort, boost retention, and hopefully improve your property sustainability. And all the webinars and seminars are also free, and they qualify for Oregon Real Estate Continuing Education credits. Before we get started here on their session, as you know, PGE safety is a core value of PGE, and we want to remind you to be safe around electricity. And although we know we try to rush to get here for our 8 a.m. webinar, we do offer a noon session in case you run into traffic in the mornings. Also visit our website to find out more information. So today, before I introduce the instructor, I wanted to share with you a couple of the tools that you can use at today's webinar. Again, we want it to be informal. We want you to learn, but also interact and engage with the presenter today. You'll notice to the right side of your screen where all your names are listed, there's a raise your hand icon, and you can raise your hand if at any point you want to ask a question. We do have dedicated time at the end of the session that we will be asking questions and then having more time with the presenter. Underneath that, you'll see the chat window throughout the session. You can chat questions to me or if you run into any issues. And then on that window, you'll also see a poll that will come up at the end of the session for you to provide feedback to us. On the top left corner of your screen, you'll see these participation tools, and the instructor will let you know which one he'll have you use. There's an arrow, the text, a marker, a highlighter, and whatnot. So Mark will let you know when we'll use those during the session. I'll go ahead and introduce Mark Whitney. He is, for the past 10 years, Mark has been active in the local Oregon section of the Illumination Engineering Society of North America, which most people just know it as the IESNA, which is a widely recognized as the lighting authority. Mark has a long history of providing lighting education to professionals and has instructed all levels of lighting courses offered through IESNA and as well as the classes that PGE offers. He has done numerous walkthroughs and help projects with customers with their projects and figure out how they can take advantage of incentives. He's also very familiar with sustainability issues as he's a LEED accredited professional. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mark.
Thanks, Lorena. Welcome, everyone, to today's lighting webinar, which is focusing on multifamily properties. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to learn how lighting upgrades can help your bottom line, improve the look and feel of your properties, and even result in happier tenants. In this webinar, we're going to be using examples for PG customers. However, this lighting webinar will benefit all listeners today. So here's today's agenda. I want to go over some basic lighting terms, give you an overview of commonly used lighting technologies. Then we're going to see how to use these technologies in multifamily applications. If you decide that the time is right for you to make improvements, we'll show you how to get started. We'll also talk about cash incentives currently available to PG customers through the Energy Trust of Oregon. Throughout the presentation, I'll be focusing on saving energy and money while improving lighting quality through implementing a lighting upgrade project. So we invite your active participation today by using the annotation tools that Lorena mentioned earlier, and we'll do that on the next slide. We plan to leave time at the end to answer your questions. So let's get started. These are the key learning objectives for today. So if you could, use one of your annotation tools, the arrow or the drawing tool that's on the upper left-hand side. Just click and indicate which one of these is of most interest to you today. Number one, I'd like to make sure that my audience comes away with a better understanding of basic light and lighting concepts. This helps throughout the webinar. By going over the advantages and disadvantages of different lighting technologies, you'll be better equipped to pick the right ones. Multifamily properties have many lighting applications that are common, as well as ones that are somewhat unique. So this webinar will help you decide which ones are the best to tackle. At the end, I'll go over how you can get help with your lighting upgrade project. And it looks to me like most people are interested in technologies and applications. So we'll definitely cover those today. So what is multifamily? For today's webinar, for the most part, we're going to focus on lighting upgrade measures that are located in the common areas of the larger rental properties and not the actual living units, although we'll touch on that as well. Electricity bills for the common areas as well as the exterior are typically the responsibility of the owner or maybe the property management company. This is also where you're going to find cash incentives for lighting. The Energy Trust multifamily program covers rental properties, including condominiums. Multifamily means attached rental units that are duplexes in or higher for our particular program. However, it also covers assisted living and campus living properties, but we're not going to specifically dwell that much on the uniqueness of these last two today. Let's start right off and talk about why most of you are listening today. Here's your typical property owner. All he or she thinks about is money. Well, that's not totally true, but I'm sure most of you are not running a charity. Owning or managing multifamily property is an investment. If you're going to implement a lighting upgrade, it needs to make economic sense. The good news is that it's not uncommon to save 50% or more with lighting projects. And this savings translates to more net operating income, which is great. And also, you're going to have another benefit is that you're going to have a higher market value for your property. So to kind of give a quick example on how this works, and we actually have seminars that specifically dwell on this, but I want you to see that here's an example of the effect on market value with an energy efficiency investment that saves $3,000. So here we say that before utilities were $9,500, we saved $3,000, and now the utilities are $6,500. And we go through all the formulas and applying something called a cap rate, you can see that the market value increased pretty dramatically. One of the best benefits of lighting upgrade is getting rid of maintenance headaches, and we'll touch on that a little later as well. Efficient fixtures give off less heat, so it's going to save on air conditioning, which is a side benefit. Better lighting can have a positive impact on your tenants, and of course we all want happy tenants. And the economics improve when you take advantage of available cash incentives from Energy Trust of Oregon, or for some of you, other incentive programs from your local utility. The Energy Trust multifamily program has a lot to offer multifamily properties for lighting upgrades and other measures, including CFLs and other upgrades for tenant spaces. Common area lighting is eligible for cash incentives. You can also download the detailed list from the Energy Trust website. Here's a sampling of non-lighting measures available for multifamily properties. Furnaces, heat pumps, water heaters, appliances, insulation, placement windows, even solar measures. So many of these measures are going to be covered in upcoming PG webinars and seminars later this month. Again, more details on the Energy Trust website. Okay, so let's talk about some of the what light can do for us. What are some of the good things besides just saving money? Number one, is that you want enough light to see what you're doing or where you're going. This is one of the primary functions of light. But lighting has a significant impact on how tenants and staff feel about their surroundings. So you definitely want a positive feeling about security and safety. And good lighting can even impact moods and health. A very important thing to remember is that efficient lighting upgrades should improve light quality. You not only save money, but you get better lighting. So this isn't a guarantee, but it's very easy to do if you work with an experienced and qualified lighting trade ally. So what is visible light? So visible light is the part of the electromagnetic spectrum that our eyes are capable of seeing. White light's possible by having a combination of various wavelengths of light, especially red, green, and blue. Sunlight is the best source because all the colors of the rainbow, all the visible wavelengths are present in relatively equal amounts. But even though sunlight is the best source, it can have its drawbacks. It can be too bright, there's ultraviolet, infrared. So it's important to know that electric light sources can be very good or even excellent at producing white light, but some are better than others. The next couple of slides will give you a quick overview of two important color metrics that will help us compare. The first color quality metric we want to look at is color rendering index. And this indicates the effect of a light source on the color appearance of objects being illuminated. And it's rated on a scale of 0 to 100. The sun is considered a perfect 100, again, because all the colored wavelengths of the light are present. Other light sources are going to be slightly deficient in some way or another. Incandescent halogen usually score the highest for electric light sources, close to 100. And this is why retail stores still like to use halogen track lights. High pressure sodium street lights, on the other hand, are an example of a very poor CRI. It's near 20. It's also very yellow. Things actually can look very close to black and white instead of colors. So to me, a CRI of 85 or better is needed to be considered very good. Multifamily properties, I feel, should consider the easy and relatively inexpensive benefit of high CRI light sources in order to improve the appearance of your common area spaces. The other significant color metric is color temperature. This is measured on a scale called Kelvin, or K. As you can see on this graph, the larger the number, the cooler the light source. And all sources have a range of color temperatures. It's not just one number for every source. So if you look at incandescent and halogen, it's a relatively narrow range, where when you get into CFLs and other fluorescents, linear fluorescents, you're going to see it ranges from down here, very warm, to very cool. And actually, you can actually get all the way up here with fluorescent. So color temperature is very subjective. Most people's skin look better under warmer sources, and this is because there's more red in the light source. However, most tasks, we can see tasks much better under the cooler sources. The reason for this is because there's more blue in the spectrum, it makes our pupils smaller and allows us to see more clearly. Now, that's a complicated topic, but we'll leave it at that for right now. Color temperature choice can be very complex, and one that other lighting webinars, seminars cover in more detail. And a lot of research is going on right now that focuses on the human response to color temperature and color temperature changes throughout the day. So stay tuned for this type of development. Next, I want to go over to a few important lighting terms that will help you with the rest of the webinar. Number one is input power. This is known as watts. And when the power, electricity, is applied to a light source, it produces lumens. Efficacy is the correct term that indicates the number of lumens per watt and lets you know how efficient your lamp source is. It's kind of like miles per gallon. So getting more lumens per watt improves a light source's efficacy and therefore the efficiency of your lighting system. Light levels can be measured in foot candles with a light meter that you see here. And here are a few reference points to help you understand the amount of foot candles you need for various interior tasks. So for just getting around and simple tasks, 3 to 10 foot candles. For outdoor lighting, it's going to be less than that, sometimes even less than 1 foot candle for some things. But your common visual tasks are going to be in the range of 30 to 100, and then you go up from that for special tasks like inspection and brain surgery. So this is a busy chart, but let's see if we can make sense of it here. Incandescent up at the upper left, you can see that these sources, down here is our lumens per watt, from 0 to about 150 on this particular graph. So you can see the incandescent sources are very low lumens per watt. And when you get up to your fluorescent, you see that things are starting to increase in lumens per watt. And you get up here to your T8s and T5s, you can see that the lumens per watt is getting to be very, very good. One thing you'll see here with both metal halide and particularly LEDs is that while most of the other light sources have matured and have topped out in how much light, how many lumens per watt, both metal halide and LEDs have potential room for improvement. LEDs, right now, you can get 100 lumens per watt or more, with the potential being maybe even twice that. Okay, so we've got a few terms down. Let's start looking for lighting upgrade opportunities. So we've talked a little bit about light levels. The number one thing here is don't automatically assume that what you have now is what you need or is correct. Measure using a light meter and take into consideration that your light sources have depreciated over time. So if they've been in there a while, they don't have as much light as they did when they were first installed. It's important to look at the condition of your light fixtures. Are they old? Need repairs? Are they starting to fail? Are you getting complaints from your occupants, from your tenants? Do you see that lights are left on where they're not needed? Maybe some type of automatic control would help. And do you have old, outdated, and inefficient technologies? These are the things we're going to cover here in just a few minutes. T12 lamps with magnetic ballast is a good one. And even if you've switched to T8s, they may be ready for an upgrade, especially if you're overlit. Incandescent, most cases, needs to go. And I find that multifamily properties are somewhat famous for having lousy outdoor lighting fixtures. Hopefully that's not you. So next we're going to examine several common lighting technologies and see how they compare. So here's another place to use your annotation tool. So if you want to get those ready, and just mark on this page which one of these is of most interest to you today. So just point or mark in front of one of these 4 technologies. If you have older technologies, it makes sense to make changes. Well, LED is considered the latest, greatest thing. Most applications work best with tried and true fluorescent lamps. However, we're seeing more and more applications that can benefit from LED. And I can see that most of you are interested in LED today. We'll definitely talk about that. But we're also going to talk about fluorescent, and we'll see some comparisons with LED. Thank you. So before we discuss linear fluorescence, I want to go over some lighting terms that help us describe lamps. And sometimes this involves a little bit of math. So lamps are designated by a letter, and this designates the relative shape of the lamp. So T would be tubular, G would be a globe, here's a parabolic aluminized reflector, and so on. The numbers that follow designate the maximum diameter in 1/8 of an inch. So coming up here at the bottom, an example. So for T8, we'll put all this together. So T would stand for tubular. The 8 would stand for 8/8 of an inch. So it's a tubular, 1-inch thick lamp. So hopefully that will help you out as we talk about lamps later this morning. So T12 lamps with magnetic ballast have been around for a long time. 4-foot T12 lamps were originally 40-watt lamps, but most of them that are in service are now 34-watt energy savers. And these energy savers, they save some energy, but they have poor light quality. They don't work well or at all in cold temperatures. They work with inefficient magnetic ballast, which have stopped being made. And although you can get electronic T12 ballasts now for replacements, however, that's not a great idea. So most of your T12 lamps have been mandated to be phased out as well. There's some exceptions, but it's important to know that the replacement options are going to cost you more. And because T12s are so bad, changing these out to something more efficient should be an easy decision, but which upgrade option is not as easy. And we're going to go over some of these in a few minutes. And I'll try not to get too technical, but I do want to cover some important upgrade alternatives using linear fluorescent. So the good news is that a qualified lighting trade ally knows all this stuff, and they can provide you with the best upgrade solutions. But it's also good for you to be familiar with these things as well. So T8 lamps with electronic ballast are better in every way compared with T12 systems, especially with color, rendering, efficacy, and lamp life. They're sometimes called super or premium T8s. So the best performing of T8s are known as high performance, as well as the ballast, sometimes high efficiency, but they're also known as high performance. Now when you combine these high performance T8s with these ballasts, they become a high performance system. It's important to know that if you want to get an incentive in our service territory through Energy Trust, you need to use this type of lamp, and you can find out the qualifying equipment by going to the Consortium for Energy Efficiency website. So that's a good one to write down. And it used to be easy to find the list, but it's gotten a little bit more complicated, so you're going to have to dig a little when you get there. High performance rated T8s can also be found in reduced wattage models. And unlike the energy saving T12s, these T8s, these reduced wattage T8s, are actually very good. And it can be a good strategy to use under the right circumstances. So the first thing you can consider is just relamping. This is the easiest and cheapest first cost solution for replacing 32-watt T8s, and you can save about 10% or so just by swapping out these lamps. But you're not going to get an incentive for that, but it's really easy to do. So they come in, the most common is 28-watt and 25-watt versions, and they look just like other T8s, so you need to be able to read the lamp label. And this is also considered to be a high-performance lamp. So this is especially good if you're overlit, but you need to use them in conditioned spaces or use an enclosed fixture if you have colder spaces. And again, it's good if you're currently overlit. The energy usage and the light output is going to be reduced by about the same amount. So now let's look at where you might want to use these lamps in a retrofit situation. So for T12 systems, or if you have an older T8 system, retrofitting would be a much better idea than simple relamping. This will involve a new ballast and perhaps some other modifications, but this option, unlike the relamping we just talked about, this will qualify for some generous Energy Trust cash incentives. So why retrofit? Number one, if you had a T12, you couldn't put reduced wattage T8s in that system. If I didn't mention it before, T12s and T8s both fit in the same light sockets. They're interchangeable, but you have to match them up with the right ballast. Again, if you have an older T8 system, say about 10 years old or older, these ballasts are probably nearing end of life and it needs to be replaced anyway. So this is a good opportunity to come in with reduced wattage lamps and ballast. But even though I like using these reduced wattage T8s. I like you to look at the full wattage 32 watt as your first choice. And this is because you can often reduce the total number of lamps when you retrofit your fixture. Okay. So what about T5s? We keep getting skinnier, so T5s must just be better than anything else we've talked about. Sometimes they are, but you need to know that they don't fit in the standard T12 or T8 lamp holders, as I mentioned before. That's because they have a miniature bipin, and most importantly, they're 2 inches shorter, so they're just not going to fit. So T5s really weren't meant to be a retrofit lamp. They're going to be best when used in new fixtures. So let's summarize. Number one, if you haven't got the message already, if you have any T12s, get rid of them, retrofit, upgrade. And don't get just any old T8, get a high performance T8. And you want to rule out, you want to consider your full wattage before you look at the reduced wattage T8s. And I always say to consider retrofit options before you go to new fixtures. And that's because the hourly labor rates can be lower for retrofits. And retrofit kits can make an old fixture look just like new. And decide if lower light levels would be appropriate. Just don't automatically retrofit lamp for lamp. Look for opportunities to delamp with your retrofit. So maximize your savings. Maybe you can lower ambient light levels and add a task light. So most LED options for replacing linear fluorescent are still not cost effective, but that's beginning to change. And if any of you have heard of LED T8s, they're starting to come out, and generally speaking, I say to stay away from these. It's usually not a good choice. So compact fluorescent, first of all, it's very similar to linear fluorescent. CFLs have phosphor-coated tubes. They have a ballast. It's everything that a linear system. It's just smaller and more compact. The early generations of CFLs just weren't that great. However, they're now greatly improved. They're smaller, longer lasting, and a lot less expensive than they used to be. So this can still be a very good energy efficiency option. And we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages in the next couple slides. And you may be aware that some incandescent bulbs are no longer being made. And there are incandescent halogen energy savers, but most of the time a CFL is going to be the better choice. And LED is starting to become a better option for some application, especially if you have long hours of operation. CFLs are available in many shapes, sizes, and versions. You can get simple screw-in CFLs called self-ballasted. They have the same base as most of your incandescent bulbs, and they fit right into your standard incandescent sockets. You may have a replaceable lamp version. This has a ballast that you usually can't see in your fixture. When the lamp burns out, you just replace the lamp, and you can usually do this 5 or 6 times before the ballast wears out. CFLs generally last about 10,000 hours or more. Use about 75% less energy than your incandescents. Color quality is good, very good. Maybe not great, but it's very good. Price and quality has much improved. And for your starting point, look for Energy Star CFLs. And there's the website, you can look for that. But CFLs, as most of you know, they aren't as user-friendly as incandescent. Most of them can't be dimmed or used with sensors or timers unless the box or the lamp says so. If they get hot, they can have a short lamp life, especially if you put them in recessed cans or enclosed fixtures. And they also require proper disposal. They all contain a little bit of mercury. But if you can see, if we look at T12s from 25 years ago, they used to have 45 milligrams. That's huge. Where now you can get T8s with 3 or as low as 1.7. And the CFLs, which used to have 4 or 5, now you can get most of them. You can get lower than 2 milligrams. So it's still there, but it's very small, about the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen, to give you some perspective. So if you want to learn more about mercury and lamp recycling, I suggest you go to the lamprecycle.org website, and you're going to find other links there listed on this page there as well. And there are several places you can go to recycle your CFLs. Next time you go to Home Depot or IKEA, take some CFLs with you, and you can and drop them off for no cost. And keep in mind that ballast and fluorescent tubes should also be properly disposed of. And this is going to also reduce future liabilities. So it's a good idea to be up on. Don't store them in the shed out back. Get rid of them, recycle them. Torchères is a topic I always want to discuss when I have a multifamily audience here. Whether these are used in common areas or the tenant spaces, these torchères use 300, sometimes even 500 watt halogen lamps. And besides being an energy hog, these fixtures get very hot, up to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And because they're so tall, they're prone to tipping over, and they've been known to start fires. So if you must use one, get a safety guard to cover the lamp. And this helps prevent flammable materials from getting too close to that hot lamp. And you can, so even better is to get a torchère that uses CFL lamps. These can either be a special flat type of CFLs like the one in the picture, or more commonly you can get a 3-way CFL that gives you three light levels. And right now, a good LED version of this torchère is not available, just not enough light output, or it's too expensive. So places where you shouldn't use CFLs, if you have timers, photo sensors, occupancy sensors, dimming, unless it says so on the lamp or the box. If you have a frequently switched application, that's going to burn out the CFL. If you have very short hours of operation, like a closet, supply cabinet, if you got very short hours, just use your incandescent bulb. It's going to work out just fine. And also, if you have, on the other end, if you have very long hours of operation, an LED is going to be better. And hot environments, this graph here shows that if you have the base down, that you're going to have the longest life. If you have an application where the base is up, the ballast that's in the CFL is going to get hotter. And if you put in an enclosed fixture or a recessed can, it's going to trap even more heat, and the lamp life is reduced even more. So avoid those applications. So a place to use them where LEDs and incandescents don't make sense. So this is long, but not very long hours of operation. And Energy Trust can give you cash incentives for CFLs and even new CFL fixtures. So let's turn our attention now to the new kid on the block, LEDs. A lot of fuss about this, a lot of attention. And these are becoming a viable option for many applications. And there's a wide range of quality and performance. So you need to be informed, need to do your homework in order to make good choices. So these pictures represent some recent award winners. Next Generation Luminaires focuses on commercial and industrial type fixtures, while the lighting for tomorrow is more residential. So you may want to check out these websites for more recent winners and more information. It's a good place for finding good fixtures. So why use LEDs? Well, probably the #1 reason people give for using LEDs is because they produce light efficiently. But there's other reasons as well. This chart shows the relatively recent development of LEDs. They didn't even show up here until about 10 years ago. And while these other technologies have made improvements since the 1940s, they've peaked out. And while LEDs just showed up, you can see the potential for their lumens per watt for their efficacy is really, really good. LEDs can have a long lamp life, some even 100,000 hours or more. They're a focused and directional light source, so you want to use them with this strength, but other applications can be more challenging because of this. They're small, which means they can fit in small spaces, but when you get into your higher lumen output lamps and fixtures, they have to have a bigger and bigger heat sink, so some of the fixtures can actually end up being pretty big. Dimmability is a very strong feature of LEDs, but the compatibility with existing dimmers is an issue that it needs to be addressed and get better. Unlike fluorescents, LEDs don't have mercury, they don't have ultraviolet, and they don't radiate infrared heat. But they do have conductive heat, so the heat doesn't just go away. Until just recently, there just hasn't been an acceptable alternative for halogen reflector lamps for track lighting. CFLs had a poor beam pattern and color quality wasn't good enough. So these screw-in LED replacement have improved to the point where they're now an excellent alternative to halogen. Good energy savings, long lamp life, excellent color quality. That's what makes these LED lamps a compelling lamp replacement choice. And you can also use these types of lamps in recessed cans. However, they make a special LED retrofit downlight kit for recessed cans, and that usually works better. But you can use this type of lamp in a recessed can. And these lamps qualify for generous cash incentives through the Energy Trust. And I've seen paybacks between 1 and 2 years, especially with long hours of operation. So here's some examples of how you can save money with LEDs through Energy Trust. Most importantly, make sure that you get an approved product. And if you go to the Lighting Design Lab list website, you can find the list and find qualifying lamps. So you can get LED downlight kits that I just mentioned earlier. Get $30 per fixture. The directional lamps, you get from $15 to $25 per lamp. And if it's not on the list, it may qualify for a custom incentive, which is up to 35% of the installed cost. Again, use an approved product and meet other program criteria. And even though this is an illumination product, you can get incentive for LED exit signs. Okay, let's look at LED applications. Where not to use LEDs. Very short hours of operation. Again, it's not worth the expense. If it's a real hot environment and closed fixtures, LED may not be the best choice. And for multifamily, maybe you don't want to install LEDs where they might get stolen. Just something to think about. Hopefully you don't have tenants that do that, but I've heard stories. So where to use LEDs? Where it makes the most economic sense is where you have very long hours of operation. Also in cold environments, frequent switching. LEDs don't mind if you switch them on and off all the time, unlike fluorescents that will shorten the life quite a bit. They can also work well with timers, photosensors, occupancy sensors. Most will dim, but again, make sure that the lamp you choose is compatible with your existing dimmer, or you have to get a new dimmer switch. And they work really well for track lights and recessed cans. Can't stress that enough. We'll talk real briefly about controls. Occupancy sensor being the most common one. These are going to turn lights off when a space is vacant. So if you notice that lights are left on when they should be off, consider an occupancy sensor. Photosensors are going to be great for your outdoor fixtures. This turns the lights off during the daytime. Nothing bothers me more than seeing an outdoor light fixture on during the day. Just a total waste. The cause is most often a failed photosensor or a timer that's not working properly. And I see this all the time, but especially in multifamily property. Just gets overlooked. So the best type of timer that you can get is known as an astronomical time clock. So once you set it up, it adjusts automatically for the length of day and night. So they can come in a panel box but they even come in models that replace a wall switch for small outdoor loads. So strongly recommend this application. Speaking of applications, let's put this all together and look at some specific common area applications. So once again, get out your annotation tools, and if you could, indicate to me which one of these applications is of most interest to you. So I realize that most of you will only have a few of these, but these are the ones that are good candidates for energy efficiency upgrades. So I'll go over them one at a time, and many of these applications are going to have more than one good efficiency solution. Looks like we got a variety, so we're going to cover each and every one of these. We'll start out with what I think was the most popular one, exterior parking and area lighting. I think the number one issue for multifamily is that tenants and staff, they feel safe and secure after dark. And fixtures that produce an even white light are the best. And you want to avoid placing outdoor light fixtures where they cast deep shadows. Light pollution is wasted light that shines upward into the night sky, while light trespass is excess light that reaches adjacent properties, or maybe it shines into someone's bedroom window. You want to pay attention to the color temperature of your outdoor lighting. Here at the bottom, you can see the difference between high pressure sodium and, in this case, LED lighting. Although metal halide is also going to be a white light source as well. Outdoor fixtures can become a maintenance headache if you pick cheap fixtures, so don't pick cheap fixtures. Get some good ones. Get ones that have long lamp life. And as mentioned before, don't have your outdoor fixtures on during the day. So make sure you have controls and controls that work. So there's numerous efficient outdoor lighting fixture options. One is adding an appropriate outdoor CFL fixture, and this qualifies for a prescriptive cash incentive. And custom incentives are also available for LED and other efficient technologies. Perhaps induction is another one that might qualify. So every application is unique. So using an experienced lighting trade ally can really help you with your outdoor lighting needs. And if you need one, we can, at PG, we can help get you set up with one. So there's lots of ways to illuminate exterior stairwells. A lot of times these are inexpensive fixtures that have incandescent bulbs. So you may simply be able to install a screw-in CFL lamp in those type of fixtures. But if the fixture is an enclosed drum or a globe fixture like this, you may want to get a CFL that is enclosed, is okay for enclosed fixtures. Or you may be better off just installing new fixtures. Usually these are fairly inexpensive. And that can be either a CFL or it can be a linear fluorescent fixture, or maybe even an LED fixture if these are on a lot and you're in the market or you need to replace them anyway. Another thing to keep in mind when you're talking about outdoor fixtures is make sure they're dark sky compliant. And this means they don't shine wasted light up in the night sky. So if you have a fixture like this that's covered, that won't be quite as important. But any exposed fixture should reduce light pollution. So some of you listening today may have interior stairwells. So these need to have, the fixtures need to be on all the time, even when they're not being used or used very little. So if code allows, you should consider bi-level fixtures that are on a low standby setting, maybe 5 to 20%, and then they go up to full brightness when someone enters the stairwell. So this works really well with LED fixtures that have fixture-mounted occupancy sensors. And again, they don't mind to be frequently switched. So this, again, if you need to replace your fixtures, this is a good time to consider this type. And Lamar Lighting is one person or one fixture manufacturer that makes these. Another manufacturer is Lutron, and they use a wireless control strategy that is used with an LED fixture. So if you can see from this diagram, This is a multi-floor building. This would be a pretty good size building, or at least a tall one. So if someone enters the stairwell on the second floor, the light fixtures on the first and third floor also come on. And these high settings can be anywhere from around 75% to full brightness or higher. It depends on the light level needs and your local code requirements. So interior hallways, again, they need to be on all the time. So this is an application that has a lot of potential for energy savings. But you also want to be sure that the hallway is adequately illuminated. That's number one. So if you have T12s, you definitely want to upgrade to the high performance T8s, either retrofit or new fixtures. So another option is CFLs or LED fixtures. Again, consider the fixture mounted bi-level occupancy sensors on these fixtures. And also be sure that you meet any emergency egress requirements or codes. And that can vary from state to state and city to city and county to county. So you'll need to do your homework on that. Laundry rooms often have basic fluorescent wrap fixtures. Other spaces use these wrap fixtures also. But these are a good candidate for a retrofit upgrade. If the wrap fixture is old or rusted, like in a laundry room, it's often very moist and damp. So sometimes these fixtures get corroded. So if you have a damp location, you may even want a vapor tight fixture in a laundry room. And if it's have a cracked lens or the lens is missing, just replace the fixture. These are fairly inexpensive fixtures. These laundry rooms are often infrequently used, so this could be a good place for an occupancy sensor. Restrooms often have vanity fixtures over the sink. And if they have incandescent globes like the ones you see here, consider replacing them with a CFL or an LED globe. Okay, let's stick them in. There. See, that looks a lot better. So another option is installing an entirely new vanity fixture with a high-performance T8 lamp or maybe even LED. And you may want to think about an occupancy sensor. But if you don't have a very big load, it may not be worthwhile to do that. Fitness rooms are an example where you might find recessed troffers. Often they have a plastic prismatic lens or else a parabolic louver, which for a fitness room is really bad because you might be on your back doing some exercises and you're looking directly up at the exposed bare lamps in a parabolic fixture. So recessed troffers, they have numerous operations for retrofitting using high performance T8s. So look for opportunities to retrofit where you can use fewer lamps. You can also use kits that can improve the look and performance of that fixture. And I go over these strategies in more detail in other webinars and seminars that I do. And again, this is another place where an occupancy sensor could be good. Lobbies can have a variety of lighting, and they might even have a residential look like this one. And this is an area where you want to make a good first impression with your prospective tenants, so don't skimp on light quality. And you might even want to spend a little extra for new fixtures or even add dimming to dial in just the right amount of light for different times of the day, or just because you can make it look the way you want it to look. So PG and Energy Trust can help you with your energy efficiency project. So either go to the PG website or give us a call in order to receive a free energy efficiency consultation. And multifamily and other commercial customers should contact Paula Conway. Keep in mind that if you think you'd like to get a free lighting upgrade estimate from an approved Energy Trust lighting trade ally, we can help you get in touch with one of those. So to wrap things up, if you have existing T12s or older T8 systems, look for the high performance with T8s and, sorry here, okay. If you have, you want to go with the high performance lamps with electronic ballast. If you have incandescent lamps, CFLs or LEDs, and we've talked a lot already about occupancy sensors. So the end result of a good lighting upgrade is you're going to get big energy savings. When you apply cash incentives, you're going to save even more. We've showed how you can improve your net operating income, which translates into increased property market value. And having happy tenants is something we all want. Well, that was a lot of material in a short amount of time. Thanks for sticking with us. And now I want to turn over the remainder of the presentation to Lorena for some additional information and to take your questions. Lorena?
Thank you, Mark. Before we go into the question and answer portion, I did want to draw your attention to the right side of your screen. There's a polling that just came up, and if you could take a few minutes to give us some feedback, and we'll go into the questions in just a little bit. I also want to remind you that as a part of the education series that we do have a couple more webinars on coming up on March 12th and 20th on ductless heating and cooling, and then saving with appliances, where we actually will have Energy Trust and the Water Consortium talk about different appliances you can implement or switch out to save energy and water. There's also luncheon sessions that we're offering, so you can be in person and enjoy lunch while you're listening to some of the experts. There's more information on our website, or let us know if you'd like us to register you. Mark, one of the questions that came through was why full wattage versus reduced wattage? They have gone from 4 T12 to 2 28-watt low ballast factors with high-performing lens and achieved comparable light output. Anything you can share on your thoughts around that?
Okay, are you saying this is someone that has done this already, or? Okay.
Yes, somebody switched it, so they're just asking why recommend full wattage versus reduced wattage when switching out.
Well, in your case, it must have been very overlit. So you were able to go from 4 T12 lamps, which were probably energy savers, but they depreciate quite a bit. And the reason that you originally had a 4-lamp fixture is to allow for that depreciation. And back when those were installed, higher light levels were more standard. Even though light quality was poor, the rationale at the time was that if you had more of that poor light, it would be better, but it really wasn't. So any 4-lamp and a lot of 3-lamp existing fixtures, many times spaces are overlit. So in your case, you were very overlit. So you were able to go down all the way down to 2 lamps and to lamps that had less light output. So other applications, you won't be able to do that. Say that you already had pretty close to the amount of light that you needed. You could get by with just a little bit less light. Then you can just simply relamp if you had a T8 system and have about a 10% light drop, and that would be fine. Along with lamps that don't depreciate as fast. One thing I didn't mention is that the T8 lamps lose less than 10% of their light output over time, where the T12s can lose 20 to 25% or more. So in cases where you can't go as low as you were able to do, you're better able to go with, for instance, you could have gone from 4 T12s down to 2 full wattage T8s, where you may have only been able to go to 3 lamps, 3 reduced wattage lamps. So that's why I like to be able to go to as few lamps as you can using the full wattage 32-watt T8s.
Thanks, Mark. Somebody was asking about they have some areas where there's no wire options. Do you know of any solar landscaping options or anything that's more for walkway safety?
Mm-hmm. There are solar options that work really well with LED, and we've all seen the little, walkway lights that you can get at your home improvement store and put by your sidewalk or in front of your house. And most of those don't have really high light output, but that's certainly an option. But since they're not wired and they're not fastened anywhere, they're prone to theft. So you want to install something like that in a more permanent manner. And for walkways, you usually want lights up near shoulder height, where the light will be good for face recognition. So there's solar options for that, but they tend to be fairly expensive, but they are out there.
Somebody purchased an LED bulb from Philips, and it said that on the package that it was not applicable for photo sensor, timer, occupancy sensor use. What are the issues, or why is that?
It's probably, I don't know for sure. Most will probably work okay with that. They usually don't work that well with CFLs, again, because of the frequent switching that can sometimes happen. But some of your photo sensors and timers, they don't shut off completely. They don't have a switch that totally turns it off. Some have just a small trickle of electricity that is harmful for electronics. So there are photosensors and timers that don't operate that way and would be appropriate even for CFLs and certainly with LEDs. So I think the label is just being extra cautious in not causing damage to the circuitry.
Any other recommendations for a common space pathway landscape lighting, possibly LED?
Well, if you have some existing fixtures already, replacing those with CFLs, I've seen that done all the time. Again, you want to make sure that that CFL is compatible with your timer or photosensor. LEDs are going to give you the longest lamp life, and they like it cold. So that would be my choice for outdoor lighting, especially if it needs to be left on all night. That's where the long lamp life justifies the extra cost for LED. If you only have them on for a short amount of time, say from dusk till midnight, and then you turn them off, then LED might not be the best choice. But you can also get new fixtures that come with LED. But oftentimes you can just retrofit anything that you have that's existing.
Okay. And the last question, Mark, is what about T8 LED tubes as replacements, the high-quality ones?
The LED T8s, and these are LEDs that look, they have the size and shape of a T8 lamp. They even have the same pins, and they'll fit in the same sockets as T12s and T8s, but they use LEDs. It just gets really complicated. Some of these are going to replace the existing ballast, and some are going to use the existing ballast. Most are going to have high voltage going to those lamp holders, and some of those lamps are LED T8 lamps are somewhat heavy, so those lamp holders weren't rated to hold that kind of weight. You may void UL when you install them in a fixture, and the light distribution isn't that great. It does shine down, which actually increases the efficiency of the fixture, but especially when you put them in parabolics, it just wasn't made for that kind of light distribution. and the light output for LED T8s is usually a lot less than a good fluorescent T8. So it's a complicated issue. It seems like an easy first, at first glance, it looks like a really good and simple option. And in the future, it might be, but I think right now, fluorescent, you can get longer lamp life with a fluorescent tube than you can with an LED T8. There's lamps out there with 60,000, even 80,000 hours now. So that advantage has gone away. So again, it's somewhat it's complicated. I just think that fluorescent for right now is your better option. And if you do go with LED, there's light bars and LED kits that work better than the LED T8s.
Great, thank you, Mark. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And as a reminder, we will be sending you the PDF of the materials and the recording of the session within a couple days. So please make sure we do have your email on file so we can get that to you. Other than that, thanks again, and we hope to see you at our next webinars and seminars. And we'll stay on the line in case other questions come through, but thanks again for joining us.